Hey, hi, good evening, everyone, one and all. And thank you, Viji, and thank you, Binu, for taking out time for today's evening's session here. My name is Hari Ramasubramanian. Just to, in fact, today we've all gathered here because this is the beautiful world of data. And as it has been propagated in about 20, 30 years or 40 years back, maybe data is the new oil, and people were still excavating oils from somewhere else. And data was actually making money for people and industry. And in today's context, data has been playing a vital role in not only in the IT industry that we look at it from perspective from that it is actually playing a major role in every industry that we can touch upon. During the last couple of years of the pandemic, we have also seen how many of the applications and our e-commerce industry and various methodologies that were available for industry to actually access the customer was again data was playing a vital role there in terms of the needs, the requirements, the wants, as well as the competition, the what kind of products and services are available or can be made to available right at the doorstep of the users. Again, data was playing a very major vital role, and we have seen that uh, many of the industries, there are data points to prove that as well. Many of the industries who have succeeded in their graphs, in their not only in the services but at the time of the consumers' affirmation from their side is also because they have actually looked deep into the data world, and they have also utilized knowledge from social media applications or various user feedbacks. And these are again inputs that come in and impact and actually if there is course correction which is required from the product or services, again those can be taken by the industry. In fact, there has been also been some specific data that has come in that there is even in the board level, there is specifically a data scientist who sits there and kind of guides the board as in what steps they need to take next. So in that context, what I thought was, along with the Edology team, IBM, we all of us we thought that we should actually bring in a couple of experts here who have been working on data and for our customers, for our audience in universities and as well as in actual customers in premises. So I would just give you a brief introduction to both of them. uh, I have Mrs. Vaijayanti Srinivasan. She's associate partner with IBM Services Workforce Management. She currently leads GBS Business Associates program and workforce management, operations, and strategic initiatives. She has been a long-term IBMer, over 18 plus years in IBM, and overall about 29 plus years in the industry. And she has been leading project management, vendor management, knowledge management, and various diverse global environment teams. She has always been very helpful when it comes to guiding students in various universities. She has actually, and she's an accomplished speaker, as well as she has even authored a bestseller, Shape It, a book, which has been recognized in various awards, including Women on the Rise Award that she received, and Women Achiever of the Year 2021, 2020 and 2021. On the academic front, she is a gold medalist from University of Madras in her engineering days, and then went on to pursue multiple programs to sharpen her skills in eCommerce, Kent State, Masters in Business Analytics from BITS Pilani, and research scholar pursuing PhD in computer applications. Wow, VG, this is so much that you have done. Amazing indeed, and it's an honor to know you as a friend, as a colleague for so many years in IBM. Glad that we are here with you today. My Our second speaker, colleague again, Binu Midun. She is the actually customer success manager with data and AI architect. So she's the kind of working on this area for last 12 plus years and in IBM for last 7 plus years now. and she has actually an all-round experience in analytics as well as client handling activities. Data science in IBM Elite Hybrid Cloud Build team. She's actually there as a core team member, and her expertise in is in machine learning and AI. She is an avid speaker in data and AI and can explain complex topics in the more utmost simplicity that she can do very well. In one of her assignments, she participated in one in a work group that came up with to relevant resource kits for energy sustainability that help developers participate in IBM's flagship initiative called Call for Code, which is a very popular call for code, basically competition which runs across the globe. She was also part of the data science team that developed the cognitive shopping advisor, which won the World Retail Awards. Amazing, again, Binu, and she's a strong pillar of support for NASCOM as well. So thank you again, Binu, for taking out your time. I'm really thrilled to actually have both of them today as my panelists. My name is Hari Rama Subramanian. I've been with IBM for over 23 years now, and I actually handle relationship with various universities across India, Asia Pacific. So over to our panelists. I think I would actually initially hand it over to Viji. We popularly call her Viji. Her name is Vaijayanti, but we will still call you Viji because that's how it comes out very naturally. So Viji, over to you. Would you want to just delve a little deep is into the world of data, as in how it is helping? And I would also want you to touch upon how data is helping us in our day-to-day activities, daily lives as well, without we knowingly or unknowingly. So
Sure.
over to you.
Thank you so much, Hari, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm happy to share the stage with Binu as well, right? And I want to thank the Idology team who reached out to me last evening, right? And that was a very short, sweet conversation I had immediately. I said, I'll be here to come and talk about what IBM does and what my personal experience has been with related to this specific technology. So first thing, all of you welcome. I know all of you are trying to consider this as one of the skilling area, right? In 2015, I was in the similar boat like you. If I were to say 2015, I was deliberating, is data science is a cup of tea for me? Should I really venture into it? Should I do something about it? So that is where I did a lot of homework, right? Internally within IBM, I reached out to a lot of people, my mentors, and then I was able to unearth a lot of different viewpoints about data science and business analytics, right? So as I speak, I'm speaking here as a business analytics expert. That's my forte right now. That's what I work on, apart from my workforce management activity, which I do. Okay. So Hari, if you or Naman, can you share the slide, please? Because I thought that it's better to have a context using a picture, and then we will get started from there. Okay. So before we get started, I request Naman to just play a small snippet of a video, which is very closer to my heart because this is something that we work with one of our client. I know the audio might not be that great, but look at the captions that conveys a lot of meaning. Okay, so Naman, just play it for it's a 2 minutes video. Let's just play it. Okay, thank you, Naman. Naman, I think we can video and we can just go on to that slide. So the reason for setting the context here using a video is what exactly does IBM do with a client and why data becomes very important for us. Kone is just an elevator company, right? You get in at the floor and get off from the other floor. But do you know there are a lot of things that they do with the data for the client? They look at the operational efficiency of the elevators. They look at when the parts are likely to get a wear and tear, what can be done. They do a predictive modeling on that. They also see which particular lift has not been used much. So how do you really reprogram itself and ensure that it is effectively being used? So these are some of the use cases that we have been working with our client. The Kone is a company. How you see, we see this every day. We go to a mall, we get onto an elevator, we get to the next floor, but never do we think that data plays a very pivotal role in terms of managing some of these. So that's why I thought the 2 minutes video will help you set the context of why you need to necessarily take data science as one of your skill areas and pick up that skill and how it will help you, right? Moving on to the next, let's move on. Next, Naman, just go on to the next slide. Let's move on. Now, next slide, please. Now, this is what I call it as a Chronodex, a day in the life, right? That's a very interesting one. Normally, when I talk to the students in the classroom or when I do a presentation, this is one slide which is very dear to my heart. Go to the previous slide, slide number 3, Naman, if you don't mind. Now, every day you wake up in the morning, you see some kind of a device. Many people even don't brush their teeth and they just pick up the phone and start texting people or checking the status, and that has become an habit, right? Now, if you look at it, every morning that you wake up, today you have toothbrush, which is having electronic sensors. It collects data in some cases. Today you have magic mirrors where you can stand in front of it and you can check how do you really look if you have to wear something before even trying it on and how the hairdo will look, right? And you also have some people who are with physical disability like me. I'm not on a wheelchair though, but people use them to commute to work, some of them, right? And then some people also take the Uber or Ola to work. And you are again using the technology and you're using the way to communicate with the platform and you are sharing some information. That is nothing but the data. The data becomes an information, right? It becomes meaningful, then it becomes an information. Then post which what happens, you go and sit at work. Then you start worrying about what's happening at my home. Some mothers who are working mothers, they'll be really worried. They monitor their baby from their workplace using their phone, using the camera at home. They have smart homes, some of them, right? And that's what they do. And some of them have the watches where you have the fitness devices. You take a walk after your lunch. So again, there is a data that is being collected. And of course, these days you have the Alexa. More than calling your spouses, people start calling Alexa more frequently. That's what I have seen, right? Even kids have started calling Alexa for help with their own homeworks. So this is how a day looks today. In today's context, this is very true. And during Corona and post-Corona, we have seen that the data collection has become more and more around us. Can we avoid it? Absolutely not. We cannot avoid it. It is going to be around us. So if it is going to be around us, why not we make the best use of it? That's exactly most of the organization like IBM and others are doing. That's where we build a use case around it. We try to understand the data. And one of the use case that's very interesting about IBM, move on to the next slide, please, if you don't mind. Before I get on to the use case, just a few points here. I think I don't want to repeat myself. We are collecting the data, we're getting the insight, and digitization is the way of life. We cannot get away from it. And data jobs are becoming more prominent, and we need more people in these jobs. And that's why people like me, people like Binu, and many more people have tried to skill ourselves. And some of us has cross-skilled ourselves and then try to pick up these nuances of data science and business analytics. As we move on to the next slide, one of the use case which stuck on to me was, this is a beautiful child which is who's hugging a tree, but this is more a message to many of us. It's all about deforestation. Recently, IBM had been working with a company called Mana. Mana is a company which is based out of France. It's an NGO whose job is primarily to look at the deforestation around the world. They look at the data on various parameters, right? One of the data that they had been collecting is about the palm oil production, right? You know, Indonesia and Malaysia are the biggest producers of palm oil, and that possibly will help them in their GDP. But what exactly has it done to the ecosystem that we are living in? The data that they have been able to collect indicates that one of the top 3 reason, and particularly the key drivers we call them for deforestation in this region, is because of the palm oil production. And what they did was they came up with a platform to collect the data, and they had used the IBM technology and tools. I'm not promoting IBM tools or technologies. By the way, let me tell you that you need the tools and technologies. That's very important because data alone cannot say many things. So what we have done is we have been working with Mana community to have a platform built with our tools and techniques, which of course Binu will cover as one of the use case, and she will walk you through what I mean by tools and techniques. And then give them a meaningful insight about what possibly we as a community, we as the people around the world can do. I'm not sure how many of you have walked through the aisle and seen any cosmetic you pick up, any biscuits you pick up, any snacks you pick up, there will be a mention that this uses palm oil. Okay. But now they want to go to the next level. Are we using sustainability when we are bringing in the product, or rather raw material, into our product? That means if you are adding a palm oil to your product, is it created in a sustainable environment? The reason is when you are having a palm oil production, they try to cut down many trees and then they plant the palm trees, right? The palm oil, you have a fruit, then from that you extract the oil, and for that they have to destroy a lot of forest and then they do it. Now they want to know whether sustainability is part of their ecosystem of the company. And that's exactly this company is doing. They're collecting the data from the end product. Even cosmetics has a palm oil. Food has a palm oil. You name it, everything has a palm oil. I don't know how many of you have even noticed it. Please notice it, right? There is no point saying that I don't want to buy this product. That's not going to happen. The only way that will help us is to see whether the sustainability is being factored in as part of their ecosystem in the organization. This is a company that's working very hard towards that, and data speaks volume. They've come up with an insight. They're coming up with the predictive modeling and giving a recommendation to what we can do better and how we can do better, right? So this is one of the use case which is very dearer to my heart, because I went to Malaysia for a corporate services program where we are sent to help the tribal community there. I was part of that. I have seen and I have also felt people talking about it, right? So they say that we are disheartened by the way the forest fires happen because of this deforestation, and how it has a smoke coming up from Indonesia to Singapore, right? You can see a lot of smog, right? All these are some things that I discussed with the local community there. So that's why it's very closer to my heart. I thought I should talk about this particular use case, right? Now, as I move on, now how exactly does the tools and techniques come into picture, right? Before that, let me tell you, if you are a data professional, you need to understand it's a teamwork. You cannot just sit in your place and say, I have a bunch of data I download from Kaggle. I do some analysis. That's okay for your case study to complete your curriculum. But when you have to help a society, you need to have people around you who can collaborate with you, and you can help you understand the problems around you and give you the information. That is what is called as teamwork, orchestration, and collaboration. That's very important, right? That's exactly what Amana is doing today, right? The another thing that we need to have, which we always tell to any of the students in the colleges, is curiosity, right? It goes to the good old books. If you have children, just go and ask them who's Curious George. It's a character that was um, designed by a PBS TV show in US, where a man goes to Africa and comes up with a monkey, and the monkey is so curious. Whatever it looks at it, it asks, "What is this? What is that? What is this?" So I think that is one trait which we will have to develop. If we have to be a good data science, you need to have the feel for numbers, feel for data, feel for information, and feel for pattern, right? That's very important. It's all about feel. As we move on to the next slide, I just want to sum it up with one thing before I hand it over. I will ask Naman to play this video. If the volume doesn't come, bear with us. But this is a very important video I want you to play it even to your children. It talks about an algorithm, how an algorithm is being built by just mimicking the movement of the animals or insects around you. It's called an ant algorithm. In fact, I started my career in 1992, so you can guess my age by now. I might met my first manager around 6 years back. After many years, I met him. He is now in his 72, his ages. When I met him, he was still sitting and coding something. I was just curious, sir, what are you doing? You're still coding in a computer? No, I'm trying to see the movement of an insect and trying to see how we can write an algorithm. I was just floored. That's when he said, Vijay, you need to watch this particular video and please share it with your child. Okay. So that's the reason I thought it's worth watching this video. It conveys a lot of meaning in terms of algorithm. So play Naman and then we can hand it over to Binu after this. So can we have the caption on, please, if you don't mind? Okay, so I think we will leave it this. You can look at the video later, but the gist of it is all about how you communicate, how you pass on. I'm sure you would have learned in your programming days how what is a linked list, how you really connect the dots, so on and so forth. In the data science world, you will have algorithm, you will have machine learning, you will come across the word called clustering, K cluster, all of those. These are going to be some loaded words for you, right? You will come across something called a market basket analysis. Now you'll be wondering, what is this all about? This is just the things that happens around you, which triggers the mathematician to make it as an algorithm. It's nothing a rocket science. It's what is happening around you. It's a simple logical step of connecting the dots, right? That's the way I took it, and that's the way I learned it. If I can do it, so can you. That's what I'm thinking, right? So with that, I hand it over to Binu. You please take it from here, Binu, and you can walk them through how do we really go to the next steps in terms of tools and techniques and so on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vijay. And just before you begin, Binu, I just want to request the participants here, if you have any questions, any queries, anything that you want to clarify, you may want to put it in the chat box here, and we may take up some of those questions towards the end of the session today. Thank you. Over to you, Binu. Yeah.
Thank you, Hari, and thank you, Vijay, for the amazing insights. And I'm sure you all want that anti-algorithm video, so please keep asking that on chat, okay? So, team, please help the team with that. That was amazing video, and you all should watch that. Yeah. So, uh, Vijay, I cannot stop saying it. You're an inspiration, and you shared so many use cases. When I was hearing you, whenever we're working, we want that one inspiration, one reason, the purpose why we want to do something. And I think through Vijay, we all understand why we want to do something. There are so many different use cases across the world. We can help people as well, right? That's when you really want to do things. So I hope you got your purpose to do data science. And so you can already see, right? We're going to start with the data science use case. And the use case that we're going to look at today, right? It's employee attrition. So we had a good discussion, which use case we should pick up for demonstration. And we realized that, we wanted to go across industry. And today the industry is actually facing one of this use case that we see is employee attrition. Now, what is employee attrition? When there is a gradual decline of, the employee count, the employees resign, and then there is a lack of employees. So the recruitment numbers don't match up, right? So this is a current pain point across the industry. And what we're trying to do is build an employee attrition model. We will predict the employees attrition, whether an employee is about to leave or not. So that's the use case we are going into. So next slide, please. Yeah. So before we go into the use case, you can see the data and AI workflow, right? And you can see clearly there are three boxes. Very easy to remember. Remember these three boxes. This is how typically a data and AI workflow is divided into. There are three phases basically: the build phase, the run phase, and the manage phase. The build
Just
phase is,
sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
Binu. Naman, the
Yeah.
slides are not on the screen.
Uh, I can
Hari,
actually
the
see the
slides are
slide,
there.
Hari.
You just have to click Naman's name and it will show up on the screen.
Yeah, now it's there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry to
So
interrupt. Please continue. Yeah.
no problem. So let's continue. So the first box that you see, it's called the build phase, and it goes from that very first step where you start actually collecting all that data. It's called data exploration. And then, just collecting the data is not enough. The data is going to be very messy. That's where your role is going to play out, and you're going to learn over the next, this whole course is going to guide you there. We have a whole step called data pre-processing. Basically, it's data preparation for the next step where we actually play around with the algorithm, right? So the build box, the build box that you see is data exploration, data preparation, and model development. The second phase that you see is the run phase. So you've put all your effort, you've done the modeling part. if you want to use it, if your use case has to come to life, it has to be deployed. It can be deployed on the cloud, or it can be deployed on your on-prem servers, wherever, right? So your model has to come to life. And this is where I will request you do a data science course, you become professionals. The next step will be, how do you operationalize your AI model into production, right? So this second is there, that is the run phase. And the third is manage. What is manage? You built an AI model, right? We see something today is that your AI model is becoming a black box. Most of the managers who are managing AI, they don't understand what the model is doing. The model is giving you a prediction, it's giving you an outcome, and you have to trust that. What if you could make it explainable? You can make it transparent, right? That's the idea of manage. Make your model fair, make it explainable, so that everybody can trust your AI model. So this is the third box. So you'll remember run, that's your deployment. Manage is your production, where you want to make sure everyone trusts your model. And the first is your build, right? So these are the three phases. Coming to the next slide, and that's where you will see the data, the historical data for the training. So Naman, yeah. So this is the input data set for predicting the employee attrition, right? So this is all the columns. I just, captured it in one slide. And as you can see, this has all the details about each row. So each row over here is a historical data about an employee of the company. We are trying to predict whether this employee is going or not. And you will see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th column, you see there is a column called attrition. Attrition is basically a Boolean value. If it is 0, it says, if the person is not going to leave, and 1 could be, yes, the person might leave, right? So this is a Boolean value, and this is the label column. We say this is what we're trying to predict. This is all the input features which will go into the model. The machine is going to learn everything it can, different patterns, all insights from this data, and it's going to give you the model. So this is your input data set for predicting the employee attrition. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. So, before we go ahead, I'm going to introduce you to something very interesting. It's called IBM Auto AI. It's a tool where, without writing a single line of code, right? You're not going to write a single line of code. And it's going to build that whole model for you. So how does it work, right? So I described few steps in those 3 boxes. You remember that now. There is a raw label data set that you start with. You do the pre-processing, you prep the data as in the second box. You do the model selection, right? There are so many algorithms out there, and you don't need to be worried, because you will, as you go through the course, you will realize that there are so many models, and each model you will decide based on some conditions, right? When you understand more about machine learning, you'll be able to understand and judge, this is the algorithm I should pick. Or you could test across different algorithms and pick the best out of that. So that is, the process of model selection. Then we have hyperparameter optimization. So just like you have your computer, you change the brightness, the sound, etc. These are just different settings of your laptop. Similarly, every algorithm has different parameters that you need to change often, right? To make it the best, to tune it to the best. So that's HPO that you see. Then we have feature engineering. And I tell you, when you go on your data science journey starting today, I think you already started. Please remember, feature engineering is one of the most key aspects which actually differentiates one version of the model to another. You would actually create new features from existing features. Like, for example, if you have an address, right, you could actually generate another column called country. You'll just extract the country out of the address and create a new feature, right? So that all that process comes under feature engineering. And so there are different concepts that goes into Auto AI, and this whole pipeline will run in front of you in the next minute. All these steps go behind that, right? So definitely keep, you can shoot your questions on chat, but this is the process which runs behind Auto AI. So let's move on to the next slide. And that is a video in itself, right? So what I've done is I've recorded a quick video for you, where we all can go through, what goes on into Auto AI. So before we start, I want to just explain Auto AI is part of the Cloud Pack for Data. Now, VG very rightly said that, when you go into the data science profession, you cannot be working alone. The first, you need to have a data engineer who will help you collect their data. you'll be a data scientist. You'll need domain experts who understand the use case, right? For example, we talked about different NGOs who are working. So there will be domain experts who work along with you to understand the best model possibility, right? So there are different people you collaborate with. Cloud Pak for Data is that one environment which is used across industry. This is what is the enterprise level of data science that you're seeing. And in this one platform, you can create projects and work with multiple group of people. So Naman, I'll request you to just play the video. If you could just go back and you just click on the play button. Vijay, am I there? Yeah. Right, it's playing. So you can see this is Cloud Pak for Data, and this is the assets tab that you see. So there is a data set called employee attrition, the first data set. This is the previous input data set that you saw. And the only step that you need to do is just create a experiment. We call it the auto AI experiment. So employee attrition is the data set that we're going to use. And with this employee attrition, we just have to do is create a project, add this data set, and select which column we want to predict, right? So at the same time, I'll just keep checking if you have any questions. I see it's all career questions coming up, and you've got the Ant video already. So if you have any questions regarding what we're discussing, you can shoot. And then you see that I'm creating an auto AI experiment. I'm just giving it a name, right? A suitable name based on your use case. So I'm giving it employee attrition demo. There's a description that you can give. It's given an environment definition, right? It gives you have to allot a particular memory, 8 CPUs, 32 GB RAM. And you can see you just have to upload a data set from the project, and there you go. So you select from project, you see the data set, and it's a CSV file, as you can see. You select the asset, and there you go. Auto AI experiment on its own understood there are 23 columns. You can see on the screen, it's automatically understood there are 23 columns. And it's asking you, is it a time series forecast? You say no. And the only question you need to answer is, which column are you trying to predict? Now you go back to the use case, it is employee attrition. So the column that we want to predict is attrition. So you go to the drop down, make sure you're selecting the attrition column, and we are good. So you'll see that I'm going to select attrition. And as soon as I selected attrition, you see there is binary classification. That means you saw 0 and 1, that's Boolean. That means 2 classes and hence binary classification. And you just click on run experiment and that whole auto AI will start running. So I hope you realize we didn't write a single line of code. It's all through UI. You had a CSV file, you uploaded it, you selected which column you have to predict, and the train just goes on, right? It's run experiment. If you want to configure something, you can also change the experiment settings. That option is also available. So please, end of, I think, the first month, second month, go for this, go run your own auto AI experiment. It would be really good fun. There's a nice UI which comes up, right? So Naman, if you could just forward the video through a scroll, maybe I want to take them to the UI part now. Yes. So you can see that, a UI has started coming up. It's a very nice UI where this training data is being assessed, right? And as you go through deep into data science, you realize there are a few steps. You need to split data into train, test. You find the top algorithms. Everything is on the UI. You see how interesting it gets. And the best part is it will actually give you multiple options. It will give you a star against the best performing algorithm. So there is a pipeline 7, which has a star against it. It's saying, go use this for your production. So among the 8 pipelines, it's telling you pipeline 7 is the best. Go ahead and use that. Now, we've not written a single line of code. What if you want to work, right? What if you want to explore the notebook behind this? You could actually save the notebook. It comes in the Jupyter notebook form, and you can tweak the code as you like. So a lot of possibilities over here. You can, there is also an option. So when you come to that enterprise level, you realize with one-click deployments, you can deploy your code. And for all, data scientists over here already, you will understand model evaluation, the confusion metrics, precision recall. It's all generated for you automatically. In the model information, you see it's XGB classifier. That's the algorithm that was used. the prediction column is attrition, the one that we selected, right? So all these information is available to you. And most important is the feature summary. So we talked about the feature engineering, right? And you can see there was a new feature which was created, new feature 5, the topmost row. And you can see the weight that's given to this feature when your model is being created. So you can see, you can also get some explainability part that if the person is working overtime, look at it carefully, the transformation was product of ending salary multiplied by overtime. And you can guess, with overtime becomes a factor. And the second is commute time. So you can see on my screen, there's overtime and there's commute time, there's weight, and the model is created for you. So this is as simple as it gets. You got your notebook, we got the model. Now, what is the value that we are trying to show here? This work, right, that ran in seconds, in minutes, right? This actually takes like 2 to 3 weeks for the best scientists, for the best data scientists out there. With tools like this, low code, no code, or auto AI tools, right? You might have heard about auto ML. These tools can generate the code, the model for you in minutes. And that's the beauty about it. So even if you're an experienced data scientist, you can use this and tweak the model later. So this is what I wanted to give you. The power is with you. So even if you're not good at coding, I've shown you something that you can use. Even if you're good at coding, pick this up, extract the notebook and start tweaking, right? So this is an IBM tool we're very proud of. Auto AI is one of the favorites amongst the clients as well. So I hope you got a gist of it. The notebook is just saved, as you can see, and you can click on that, Naman, fast forward, and we can see the notebook as well, right? This is going to take, the loading is going to take time, so you could scroll further. Yeah, and you can see that pipeline 7 notebook is generated. Everything, all the steps that we discussed in the 3 box come together right over here. The whole setup, all the packages, the libraries that needs to be imported, all the pip installs, what other libraries that you need for your code to run, everything is documented here. And you take this forward to your clients, right? So not far away for your career, use this and keep growing. So Naman, I think we are good here. And if you have any questions, we should be good, right, Vijay? How do you want to take it forward?
I think I'll give it up to Hari, and Hari, maybe you can pick up the questions from the audience and we can take those questions.
Sure. So I'll just take a minute here, Hari. So, you saw this demo. Our whole aim is that, you may be coming from other places, and soon Vijay is going to explain, where are we coming from. So if we could take this call, right? Taking the challenge, moving on, you've taken the right decision. Nothing stops you, just keep learning. And we have all the inspiration here. So all the best to all of you. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Binu. It was really, really wonderful. So it is such a short period of time. You could just take us through the world of data and showing us live how it can be done very swiftly and smoothly, right? There are various questions I get to ask, right? Like, do I need to be very, very technical? Do I need to be a core coder to really work on and become a data scientist? But then you could actually show us and showcase it basically that you don't need to be really programmer kind of a thing to actually work on the world of data. Of course, if you are a programmer, you can take it to the next step, right?
I agree there also.
Yeah, so wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, indeed. And because this program from Idology and IBM partnered offering courseware is actually takes the whoever is joining this program to the entire world of data science. We actually just to give 1 minute on what exactly the student get to learn is basically the in fact one of the participants asked about how do I create reports in the business analytics world or data science world. So we start with that. Actually, we introduce, bring everybody together in the same line by introduction to analytics world. And then we give them insights into descriptive analytics, data visualization, which is exactly what reports are all about, right? And then we talk about predictive analytics, big data analytics, which is the world of social media. And social web analytics is another specific course which is taught, because that sets you to the context of today's environment and world, and you get to learn about how to specifically work on client kind of various solutions for various industries. And finally, to cap it up, there is a capstone project which will help you basically put it everything in together, whatever you have learned, you dirty your hand and then create a product out of it or a project out of it. So that's the complete package that comes in as part of the Edology IBM data science program. It's a 10-month long program, and it's about to start in another week or so. We are going to start the first batch. The classes are beginning up. So hopefully all of you should be taking up the course now and take registration for the program. So I'll just take a couple of questions, which are very interesting questions which have come. So Vijay and Binu, I would request your help here. There is one question which has come. It says, what kind of reports or charts are created in data science? What tools can I use to create those reports or charts? How does regression helps in data science? And again, what tools are used for them? So that's first question. So
Okay, you want
can
go
I
ahead,
go?
Binu, go ahead. Yeah.
Sure, Vijay. So very good question asked, and clearly a very visual person has asked. You know, we all love that visual impact that you can create. So a lot of charts, lot of plots is all possible, from bar plots to scatter plots to bar graphs, and the way it all depends on what kind of data you're trying to analyze, right? So in IBM itself, we have different tools like Data Refinery, where you can generate charts in seconds, but it all, we need to understand which chart applies where, right? So there are histograms, depending on the use case. You can easily download it, give it a theme. Now, this is IBM product. We are also here for open source, right? And I'm also a big fan of that. So you want to explore Tableau? Hari, you're saying something? You're on mute?
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we also have Tableau, right? So one thought that comes right now is, if you're interested in the business analytics, pick up an industry tool, like maybe Data Refiner, simple tools that you can pick up. Pick up Tableau, pick up an open source tool, right? Power BI, Tableau. Pick up one SQL database and also one NoSQL database, because that's where your data will also come from. So this is just a thought that I will share. And you also asked about the regression. I didn't get that.
Yeah, so I'll repeat that. Yes, it was basically talked about how does regression helps in data science. I don't know. How do you know the question?
It's all about the predictive modeling. It's a function of, it's basically a function. If something happened, how the regression can predict the next move, right? It's about, say that I'm going to buy something for a Diwali, right? What my sales is going to look like, right? If you want to use something, you can use a regression based on the past historic data, how the trend looks like, and then come up with a analysis, right? So it's all about the data that you're going to use. One thing I want to tell is, there are two generation of people in this call. I don't know whether you observed it, right? Like Binu, she comes, possibly I look up to her as a millennial, and I look up to myself as a Gen X, right? The first question that I had was, when I took up this course, the person who asked the question, I had the same question on my mind. Is what do I do with the reports, right? My suggestion is, I got certified in Tableau. That's the first thing I did after my business analytics, because storytelling with data is an art. It will not come overnight. Let me tell you that. And it's being a data science is one part of it, but how do you convey that to your end client and convince them is only using that visualization. Even today, when Binu was sharing that, she was showing the classification, you also clustering, and how things are happening. Then you will hear a word called KNN means. It was all flying over my head when I joined the course, right? Only one thing I would recommend to all the people all the time is, get your statistics very clear, right? That's when you will appreciate the attributes of the data. The tools you can generate. In fact, even you give a junk data, the tool will show something. But that's not right. Are you able to interpret it in the right manner and communicate the insight? That's important. All these tools will only be an easy way to get an output. But you are the person who should make the decision whether the tool output is correct or not. Let me tell you, right? Without writing a single piece of code. So this is something important. Your mathematics, calculus, differentiation, statistics, and storytelling with data you have to do. I agree with Binu. Do one visualization certification. Either it's a Power BI or you do a Tableau or add it. That'll give an extra edge to you, right? You stand out in the crowd. So that's a message I have, Hari.
So thank you so much, both of you, to have explained that. Viji and Binu, there is a specific query which says that the particular person has actually learned the IBM course, which is a very basic course on edX platform. And they have 10, I think it's an overview on data science that they've learned and got some certificate also, which are available on self-learning platforms, right? So, however, she feels that that is not enough, which is absolutely rightly so. That's not enough to call herself or himself as a data scientist. So, the courses that we are offering as part of the Idology IBM program, one certificate, but it takes them to deeper understanding of predictive analytics, big data analytics, and social web analytics, and descriptive and data visualization. Will that kind of help them to step into the world of data science? Will, if this kind
You
of
might want to pick up that
learning,
question and I'll pitch in. Go ahead, Mino.
yeah.
So it's a very I would say it's a very real thing, you know. And today, everyone, including me, when I started off, I did the same thing, right? I went and I did a course. I did it in big data, so that was back in 2014. And we all believe that will be the stepping stone. And I somewhere believe it's just because I did that, then that was an extra thing that I did, that it pushed me to the right place. Yes, but that was not enough. We have to do continuous learning, and we have to get real project experience. So Vijay, maybe you could take this up, how to expand. But then I have a personal story that I can share, how I went into that. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell you my experience, right? Some of these fundamental courses can take you only so much. But some of the courses that is designed using what Hari was telling about has a depth to it. When I say depth, the depth is the use case, right? So what you're going to do is, when I did my course, I picked up on HR analytics. That was my forte, and that's the function of workforce management. I picked it up. And I was trying to work around that area. So once I started working in that area, I realized that I was able to bring in a value to myself and my organization, right? At the end of the day, why are you doing a course? It's not just for yourself. You have to bring a value back to your organization. So the use case that gets picked up in your next, I would say 10 months when you're going through this course, you're going to have a mentor, and I'm sure you will have a faculty who will be guiding you in the process of narrowing the scope, redefining the scope, and having a scope where you can really apply the concepts that brings in the depth to your knowledge as well, right? Some of these certificate course for just 10 hours, 20 hours, 5 hours, and all just that just sets the context. That's all. But you need a depth. So the way I did, I had a use case which was very closer to the work that I do. Rather than picking up something because previous batch somebody did, so I just pick up something and I do, right? I don't want to do that. The project work we have to be doing that is meaningful. We are no more in the college. We are not running a race in a college to get a bachelor degree now, right? I'm done with my basic education. Now I need to really upskill. In bachelor's, you go and do a same project and try to kind of get some ideas from your peers and repeat the project. But that's not the case here. You have to have a project that is closer to you, that is closer to your job role. That's very important. That's how I did it. And that's what I would recommend as well to some of you in the call.
Absolutely, absolutely indeed. Thank you so much, both of you. And just leading to that, why is Python considered so important for both data science and AI ML world?
Python, Vijay, you want to take that question and then I'll go then.
You know what?
I think you.
It's a very interesting question. You're asking two different kind of generation, right? When we started with a C++ and a
C++.
C and an object-oriented language.
Yeah.
Python is a very loosely coded language for us, right? It took a while for us to, for me particularly, to start getting into the groove, right? So it's like you're telling a person who was in the 90s wearing a set of clothes, and today you are having a trendy clothes. You're asking me to fit into myself into that, right? It took a while for me to change my mental process. So the best way that I did, Python is very easy. It's more like speaking a language, English language. That's one thing I realized. And also realize that you don't need to have a compiler on your machine and compile something. There are online compilers available. You write the code and you get something out right there. The libraries are vast, right? And most of the packages that are there out supports this because it's more of an open source and everybody is contributing to that world, right? And today the curriculum in the campuses also appreciates and have Python as a course, right? That is one, because if you ask me, do I prefer Python or an R? I preferred R first, right? It took a time for me to shift myself to Python, but today I prefer Python as well. I'm not rigid anymore. So it's just the mindset. People who are from Gen X might find it a little different, but I think Python is the way to go and I appreciate it. Now I feel really like a millennial, to be honest with you.
You already are.
You are, Vijay, come on.
Totally. And I would
Yes.
just like to second that.
Yeah.
She covered all the points there. And
Yeah.
just to add, today, it's so data intensive, right? So when we talk about that, Python, and you might have heard about PySpark, Spark environments are there. So when there is a lot of data intensive computations that you need to do, we prefer that distributed computing. That's much more faster. And in this data world, that's where we are. But having said that, you covered it all, Vijay, so they have the answer as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. And just to take one more insight now that we have interesting conversation going on. How do you see that data science will mature further up in the next, let's say we talk about next 15 years, 20 years from now, uh, or maybe even 10 plus years. Let's not go 20 years. 20 years too far away now in this IT world. So let's say 10 years now. Will data science will go further on to touch upon various new scales and things like that, and how important it will be like in careers, somebody who wants to build their careers here?
I wouldn't be surprised the data science become even a school curriculum. That's the way it is going these days. It's going to become an integral part of your basic curriculum. But what's more important that we haven't understood is the ethics behind it. That's not an area that not many people have explored.
Right.
Today, the organization are struggling with the AI ethics, right? You can have data, but what exactly are you doing with that data? Are you giving me the right direction, right? Now, just to give an example, I was in a forum or discussion with one of the bigger institution. They had called a senior person from legal, and the person was talking about why a driverless car is going to be a big challenge in India, right? There are no legal system who will own up if there is a accident, right? And are you going to blame the person who wrote that piece of code? Are you going to blame the person who devised that IoT, who put it into that? Are you going to really blame the person who started the company? Whom are you going to blame for that, right? And again, there is another school of thought which MIT did some time back, right? if there are two people going on a road, and if it's an elderly woman and a young boy, and then you are going to hit one of them, would it be the old person, or would it be someone else, right?
Yeah.
Is it the young boy to be saved or the old lady to be saved? That's again a very difficult decision to make, right? So these are an area where ethics committees are being formed, and European Union is the first one which has formed it. We are working on it. And today, when you look at the call centers, they call many times it's the robot that's calling you. It's absolutely
Yeah.
not a human.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can make out. But it
Yeah.
is, they don't even declare it that it's not a human, right? It's ethical. That's a question to ask, right?
Yeah.
So now there are different school of thoughts coming up. Data science will be taught very early on, I feel, because now programming has gone even to the 10th standard students. I would not be surprised if it becomes part of the curriculum in the coming years. But what we need to teach them is the ethics. That is a big area of concern today in front of us. Yeah.
In
Super.
fact, Vijay, I think CBSE is also taking up data
Taking it
science.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great indeed. Thank you so much, both of you. And just to conclude, as part of the program that we are launching with the Idology, this certificate program, they also the whoever takes up this program and completes it with the project, they will be awarded an IBM electronic badge. The badge is basically the power of the badge. You all both know. We all have secured those badges, right? The power of the badge is not just, of course, print and keep it like a certificate, but the power comes when you use it electronically in your email or in your LinkedIn kind of a social media platforms. So that will, or maybe even in your electronic resumes, you can put those badges there. Anybody clicking on that badge, it validates because it goes to the IBM server and validates that, yes, it has been issued by IBM. So those elements, the positive elements comes in with this. So with that, again, thank you both of you for being lovely, lovely speakers and my colleagues and in IBM. And wonderful having you here during the fireside chat today in the evening. Thanks again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you to all the attendees. We
Thank
look
you.
forward to see you as a data scientist, and then we would like to partner with you in the future. You never know. So
Absolutely.
welcome to the world. Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Correct.
thank
Yes.
you. And thank you to IBM and the Idology team. It was wonderful, well organized, and glad to meet each one of you today. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the
Thank you.
participants. Yes. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.